BlakeLively went to war with Justin Baldoni. She leveled allegations of sexual harassment, accused him of running a smear campaign to destroy her, and unleashed Hollywood's most expensive legal machine. She had Ryan Reynolds. She had Taylor Swift texting her privately. She had the New York Times. She had everything. And when it was all over, when every dollar was counted, every document was filed, every claim was decided, she walked away with nothing. $0, zero apology, and absolutely zero NDA. That last part. That is the part that changes everything. Because right now, Justin Baldoni is sitting somewhere fielding offers worth up to $10 million to tell his full version of what happened. TV interviews, a docuseries, a memoir, all of it on the table. All of it is completely legal. Because she could not buy his silence. She tried. She failed. And that is the story nobody is telling you properly. So let's fix that. May 4th, settlement announced. And I watched people online immediately treat it like a victory for BlakeLively. I watched the headlines roll in. Case closed. Resolution reached. It ends with us drama finally over. And then Blake showed up to the Met Gala the very next day. Archival Versace, Lorraine Schwartz diamonds, male attendants on their knees arranging the train of her gown while cameras clicked. The message she was sending was unmistakable. She was back. Except, here's what those headlines didn't tell you. Court filings confirmed that neither BlakeLively nor Justin Baldoni received a single dollar in this settlement. A case where Blake's team was seeking $161 million in damages ended with no money changing hands from either direction. Read the actual joint statement they released. It says the process of making the film presented challenges. It says the concerns Blake raised deserve to be heard. It expresses hope for closure. What it does not say is that Justin Baldoni sexually harassed her. What it does not say is that he ran a smear campaign against her. What it does not include is an apology. From anyone. About anything. One journalist who has tracked this case closer than almost any reporter in the world called it the world's most expensive fig leaf. A tiny PR cover-up meant to hide a massive legal failure. She noted that Blake settled for 0 cents, and a statement that doesn't actually validate what she spent 17 months claiming. So I want you to hold that in your head as we go forward. $60 million. Zero apology. $0. Zero NDA. Because that combination tells you something really important about how this actually ended, and for who. Here is the detail that I think is the single most important thing to understand about this entire settlement. BlakeLively allegedly pushed hard for a non-disclosure agreement. She wanted one. Her team negotiated for one, and she did not get it. Baldoni's attorney, Brian Friedman, went on a podcast the day after the settlement was announced and spelled it out in plain language. He said, in most cases that get settled, there is broad confidentiality. You can't say anything negative. You can't say this. You can't say that. Going into the settlement discussions, there were lines in the sand that Justin always had. He always wanted to be able, at some point, to speak. And then Friedman said the words that should have been the headline everywhere. The most important thing to Justin right now is being able to speak his truth and tell the story. Let me translate what that means in real terms. Justin Baldoni can now sit down with any journalist, any network, any publisher in the world and say absolutely everything. Every detail about what happened on that set. Every conversation that was never made public. Every piece of his version of events that got buried under 17 months of legal filings. And according to sources close to him, he is, and this is the word they used, champing at the bit to do exactly that. The numbers being reported are somewhere between $8 and $10 million for whoever lands that exclusive. TV interviews, a docuseries, possibly a full memoir chronicling everything from his perspective. Think about the math for 1 second. Blake spent $60 million in legal fees. She walked away with no settlement money. And the man she was trying to silence is about to potentially make $10 million from the silence she couldn't buy. That is not a win. I don't care how you frame the Met Gala entrance. That is not a win. Now here is the part that most people do not know yet, because a lot of people think this is finished. Case settled. Everyone moves on. It is not finished. Judge Louis Lyman, the federal judge who oversaw this entire case in New York, filed a court order on May 28th. So 3 weeks after the settlement, scheduling a June 1st hearing, putting both sides on a collision course to address unresolved financial disputes, specifically around Blake's motion to recover attorneys' fees, legal costs, and additional damages from Baldoni's production company Wayfarer Studios. Blake's team filed a motion arguing that Baldoni's original $400 million defamation case against her was not just baseless, but retaliatory. And, under California Civil Code Section 47.1, the exact law at the center of this entire case, if they can prove that, she could potentially recover tens of millions more. But the judge denied her request to submit additional briefs and evidence before the hearing, which her team did not see coming. And then prominent defense attorney Mark Garagos said something on national television that I cannot stop thinking about. He told News Nation that the judge's latest order raises serious questions about whether BlakeLively's own attorneys may have misled their client into settling the case. Her own attorneys may have misled her into settling. If that is true, and I want to be clear, it is an allegation, not a confirmed fact, but if that is even partially true, it means the $60 million Blake spent, the 17 months she fought, the career capital she burned on this battle, all of that may have been pointed in the wrong direction by the very people she was paying to guide her. I don't know how you sit with that, but somebody in that camp is sitting with it right now. I want to go back to something that got completely swallowed by the drama of the settlement announcement. Before this case settled, Judge Lyman dismissed 10 of BlakeLively's 13 claims against Justin Baldoni. 10 out of 13. And the way most outlets covered it was claims dismissed on legal technicalities. I read the actual ruling. What the judge said is significantly more detailed and significantly more substantive than the word technicalities suggests. He went through each incident individually. He found that several alleged incidents would not support a hostile work environment claim at all, or would do so only minimally when placed in context. The circumcision comment that became one of the most discussed moments in this entire case. It happened before filming even started. Multiple other incidents were reviewed in full context and found insufficient. The screenplay content was found not surprising or unreasonable given the nature of the specific film being made. These were not technicalities. These were substantive legal findings by a federal judge reviewing actual evidence. And here is why that matters for everything that comes next. When Justin Baldoni eventually sits down for that $10 million interview, and by every account it is a matter of when, not if, those judicial findings are the foundation of his entire story. A federal judge reviewed the evidence and threw out 10 of 13 claims. That is not a footnote. That is his opening statement. And unlike anything he could have said during trial, there is now no legal restriction on how he tells it. I want to step back for a second, because I think we've been so focused on the legal back and forth that we've missed what this case was actually about at its core. This was never just a lawsuit. From the very first day, Blake's complaint was filed alongside a perfectly timed New York Times article. This was a battle over who gets to control the story. Blake's side had access. They had the Times. They had the first mover advantage. They had the cultural moment, a woman speaking out against a powerful man in Hollywood in the post-Me Too era, right before a major film release. Baldoni's side had a combative lawyer named Brian Friedman, who everyone underestimated, who launched a website publishing counter evidence, who got sanctioned repeatedly and kept going anyway, who went on podcasts and told anyone who would listen that his client would be vindicated. And then there were the 107 independent content creators, people making YouTube videos, people writing articles, people just covering a celebrity case. Blake's legal team subpoenaed them, demanded their bank records, their private communications, for just covering a story. The law at the center of this whole dispute, California Civil Code 47.1, was written specifically to protect people who cannot afford to fight back against powerful entities using defamation suits as weapons. And here we are, watching that law get debated in the context of someone who allegedly coordinated with a major newspaper before filing her complaint, who had access to Hollywood's most expensive legal talent, who subpoenaed over 100 people for talking about her case online. The people that law was actually written for don't have Ryan Reynolds on Instagram managing their PR the morning after their settlement. Outro. So here is where we actually are. The settlement that everyone called the end? The judge ordered both sides back into court. The silence Blake allegedly paid $60 million for? It doesn't exist. The man she spent 17 months fighting? He's fielding $10 million offers to talk. 17 months. $60 million. A film that made $350 million at the box office. And it ends with no money, no apology, no NDA, and a story that is nowhere close to over. When Baldoni finally talks, and he will talk, I'll be right here. Make sure you're subscribed, because that video is going to be something else entirely.